Yet again, I'm here to talk about the game I never expected to talk about, Mixtape. This was for me another game that just came out of nowhere, as I'd never heard about it before release. I was just scrolling Twitter one day and suddenly I saw everyone talking about this game and giving it some really high scores. And this game was pretty cheap, only costing $17. So I went into this game without knowing anything about this, outside of the kissing scene. So without further ado, let's get into the game and see if it's actually worthy of its praise. Now the story is about this young adult named Stacy, who is hanging out with her two closest friends before leaving to New York to pursue her dream of becoming a music producer. They are preparing for a party that will happen later that night as a final send-off before Stacy leaves. Not only that, but we also get to see some past memories of the gang doing different things, like picking up items around the environment so you can get some extra dialogue and such. And with that, let's talk about the characters. The first one is the main character of Stacy, and at first I found her annoying. The way she spoke and some of the dialogue was really annoying. Sometimes in the story she just came off as very unlikable. She's a troublemaker and just causes trouble for a lot of people. She also thinks she's like the coolest person in the world because she can name every artist, release date, the songs, and info about them.
Outside of rap though, there's no way this woman has ever heard a single rap song in her life.
I never liked when a character acts like this, as I can only imagine they would be super annoying to hang out with. And she doesn't like people who don't care about music. She starts disliking this one girl because they did not care for the music in a movie. So now she just hates the person. And the worst part is that the other person, she likes her. She thinks Stacey's nice. So it's just the hate. It's just so dumb. I don't get it. Who cares? However, she did grow on me, especially when she stepped up for her friends at times, which was pretty cool to see. I am, however, not super keen on the way she talks to the player about the songs playing and such. It felt really odd to me. This is definitely just a me thing, but talking to the audience directly is something I just find a tired concept in media, unless it's used for a simple joke. But I do get why they do this, as she is super passionate for music and this playlist of songs are used in a way to telling the story and how she was feeling. But overall though, again, she is a decent character who could be really annoying at times. Next one up is Cassandra, who is one of Stacy's closest friends. I think of the group, she was easily my favorite character. I liked her laid-back personality and she was just chill. I just find it funny that when she first meet these two, she's like, yo, my dad hates you guys. Wanna be friends? Her dad is a cop and super strict about her, making her feel like she can't live her life. So with these two, she can. Though I can't lie, Stacy is a bad influence for her in some ways. Because of her shenanigans, they get in trouble multiple times. But sometimes the game will have a scene that you know the writers are just jerking off at the thought of people playing it and going, wow, that was insane! Like near the end, her dad arrives at the party, held in the woods. The cabin is burning due to firework, and Cassandra is standing in the middle of the road in front of her dad with a lighter, and threatens him to burn the town down if he does not let her live her own life. It's very easy to tell that the people who made this game wanted people to go, oh my god, that scene was hardcore. But it's just funny. I could not take this seriously at all. It's just so overreactive, like calm down. It's not often this happens, but it just comes off as very tryhard and silly. I think the conflict with her and Stacy later on in the story was, however, done well. You can understand why they get upset at each other and understand both their perspectives. Overall, I think Cassandra was a pretty cool character. I quite liked her. Slater is the least focused character of the three. He doesn't really grow as a character and doesn't create any drama with the others. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have any depth, because he sure does. He also loves music, but he creates his own. Not only that, but he's also a talented artist. Now Slater is a character I actually enjoyed. I find him a likable character. Again, he's relaxed and while passionate for music and such, he's not in your face about it. He more so just keeps it to himself outside his two friends. He has unfortunately some dumb lines, like every other fucking character, but it's not often with him. He has plenty of screen time, but again, he's the least focused character of the three. Still though, I find him pretty alright. The story is pretty much about these three, but there's also some side characters here and there. Some I have already mentioned, but I don't feel the need to go over them, and instead let's talk about the visuals. I think it's visually a pretty game when it comes to its environments. When you start the game and start skateboarding down the road and seeing all these colors and leaves fall from the tree, it looks very nice. Or when you walk in the forest and see all the greens and such, it's such a nice style. And then we have the character designs, which honestly took me a bit to get used to. I was not a fan of them at first, but again, they did grow on me, and I think they did a good job showing the characters' personalities. When you're watching this footage, you might have noticed how the characters walking moves at a much less frame rate than pretty much everything else in the game. It's trying to go for that Into the Spider-Verse look, where they have less frames in order to not only look more like a comic book, but also have more weight to its movements. It was great in those movies and in the Peanuts movie, but in this game, I find the style kinda gimmicky. I just don't think it works for this game, especially when the environments and moving cars moves at a much higher frame rate. In my opinion, I just think that everything should have moved at the same speed. Make the characters move the same way they do now, but also do with everything else in the game. I think it would have worked better. But despite that, I still think the game looks overall very good. Now, you might have noticed that I've not yet talked about the gameplay, and that's because there is very little of it. It's more so a walking simulator with faster paced sequences. And personally, I like walking simulators, so I did not mind this. There are though some sections where you're not just walking around and actually doing other stuff. And sometimes these sections worked for me, and other times not. Like the sections where the characters will be flying around. I'm sorry, but these was just so dumb. I know it's about expressing the freedom and feeling whimsy of this young adult, but I just find it really corny. I'm sorry to say. I know I sound like an old man, but that's generally just how I feel. The skateboarding parts were actually pretty fun though. They were fast paced and never got old to me. Especially the one part where you could just blow up stuff. This is of course just in Stacy's mind. I also like the one sequence in black and white where Stacy was just floating around, even though the reason for it was kinda overdramatic. And the one where Slater goes to the store to rent some movies while being drunk was really fun too. Especially because you can make such a mess of the whole store. But my biggest problem with this game is that there's too little of these sections where it feels like you're in full control. There are sections of gameplay where you don't have to do anything at all. Like this part with Stacy running. I did not press any button and instead just watched it, and there was no punishment for it. What is the point of having me able to do anything in a part of the game where I can just put my controller down and nothing bad happens? This is why I wish this game was more interactive. I want to be the one that makes a run in the scene. I want to be the one who makes a jump. Having it done all for you is just so boring. The parts where you get to be in control and walk around and see the environments are like the best parts because I am in control. The gameplay times is just like an all-runner, but without any consequences for anything. The highlight of the game though was for sure the soundtrack, and good thing too, cause this woman could not stop talking about it. I am personally not a music person, so I never heard of any of these songs in this game soundtrack. The game consists of licensed songs from many other bands from the 70s to the 90s, but I do wish the soundtrack had more variety, as most of it is just rock, and for a game about the character who loves the music genre, there is little variety when it comes to different music genres. It's not a huge issue, but I still thought the game could have been done more with the concept. Having rap, having metal, having classical music, like having more genres. I think that could have made the soundtrack a lot more special. I understand everyone has their own music taste, and mixtape is a term described as a collection of songs, but I just think it would have made the mixtape itself stand out a lot more with more music from other genres. And that's pretty much my thoughts about mixtape. Mixtape as a whole was an okay experience. This is definitely not going to be one of my favorite games this year, but it's also not going to be one of my least favorites. I can understand people who love it and find it amazing, but I also understand those who did not like it. I had absolutely no expectations when going into this game, so I was not really disappointed, but I definitely wish the game was a lot better. Would I recommend this game? That really depends. If you're someone who is gameplay first and story second, skip this one. You're going to hate it. But if you're someone who enjoys games where the story is the main focus and don't mind the lack of gameplay at times, I think it's at least worth checking out. If you have played it, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. And with that, I thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.